And the irony here is he had weapons of mass destruction and he aided and abetted terrorists. Thank you. Now that we've been there for a little while, we've lost a few thousand lives, etc., etc., etc. New intelligence says that, he didn't have weapons of mass destruction. He didn't have biological warfare. And he didn't aid and abet terrorists. All of that we went to Iraq for was completely not true. Same as Afghanistan. Alright, before I go off on a tangent about the media and what it doesn't cover and the government and what it does cover and what it tells you and what the truth is, I'd like to take a minute and discuss the history of government-sponsored terrorism. But before I do so, I'd like to tell you why there is a government-sponsored terrorism. If you want somebody that knows nothing to do something for you, you would do something that would bring it home to them, correct? You'd want them to be on your side, in a sense. Now, the first case of documented government-sponsored terrorism, which is actually documented, the government did this, is Nero burnt Rome on July 18th, 64 AD. Now, the fire, he started in the ghettos and the slums, and it burned for over a week. And reports say that during this fire, he was actually on his private balcony, miles away from the city, watching it burn, playing a fiddle. Yes, he was the emperor of that city. He watched his city burn and played the fiddle. Weird, ain't it? By the way, 2/3 of Rome was destroyed at that time. And you know what he did? He said the Christians did it. Christians did it, and they started crucifying the Christians, and hence the Crusades. That's just the first one of many. The next one I want to talk about is a little closer to home. Obviously, it's not 2,000 years ago anymore. It's in 1898. The USS Maine was sunk in the Cuban harbor right by Guantanamo Bay, and that was on February 15th. The American public was told that nobody knew why. Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. Correction. The American public was told by the government and the media that the boat hit a random mine in a harbor. Okay. You mean to tell me that a harbor that is busy all day, every day, doing goods, back then it was a lot of molasses, rum, etc., etc., etc. The only boat to ever get hit by this giant minefield was a United States battleship. Really? All the other boats passing through there just kind of bobbed and weaved around the mines? I don't believe that. Which eventually led to the Spanish-American War, which actually, if you look over in those new memorials over there, you will see the Spanish-American War and how many lives were lost. Now I want to talk about something within the last century. Hitler burnt down the Reichstag and then blamed it on the Jews. Hence the Holocaust and World War II. If that doesn't bring it home for government-sponsored terrorism, I don't know what does. Here's another one that has to do with the United States of America again. On December 7th, 1941, FDR came on the radio and said, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by the Japanese army in the fleet of Pearl Harbor. That is what you guys have all heard in your history books. That's what you guys read in your history books. That's what you believe to be true, correct? Well, little twist. As of now, the History Channel has now made it public that the American government knew about the attacks 4 days prior to the attacks. They intercepted some wiretaps and actually saw the fleet on the radar. Yet he told the American public it was surprise and sudden. Why would he do such a thing? Why would FDR allow Japan to attack our fleet on a Sunday morning? Why? Ask yourself that. Why would he do that? Well, I'll tell you why he would do that. At the time, the American public was practicing something called isolationism. We have two giant oceans to each side of us, all right? The American public was thinking to themselves, okay, that's a real bummer that there's a giant war in Europe right now, but that's 5,000 miles away. I don't see how it really affects us. I can't blame them for thinking that. I probably would have thought the same thing. The American government, however, knows that war equals money. We're in war now, spending money, there's jobs, etc., etc., etc. War is money. It's fact. War is money. You need to build tanks, you need to build airplanes, you need to build guns, you need to pay soldiers, you need to do this, you need to rebuild, etc., etc., etc. War is money. Obviously, World War II is huge money. It's a huge war. That's why we allowed the Japanese to attack Pearl Harbor and say it was a sudden surprise attack. So the American public would be so enraged, they would be ready to jump on a boat and go over those seas and fight someone else. All right? Now, that is World War II. Another one that's kind of recent, 1962, the Secretary of Defense and a few others came up with a document called the Northwood Documents. Now, the Northwood documents included a lot of different things. Basically, the gist of the Northwood documents was to government sponsor some terror down in Cuba to allow the American public to go into Cuba and take it over and get rid of Fidel Castro. Now, the Northwood documents failed miserably because JFK said this is absolutely retarded, it's not going to work. But what the Northwood documents did include is blowing up drone aircrafts, sending out Mayday calls before these drones were blown up that said things to the extent of, we're being shot at by a Cuban MiG. We are being shot at by a Cuban MiG, Mayday, 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 and have the drones blow up, which would obviously get the American public very upset at the Cubans and be ready to go down there and start a war. Fortunately for the American public, JFK had a good head on his shoulders and decided that was the dumbest idea in the world. Some other things that the Northwood documents included, irony here, listen to this one, is to sink a ship and say a mine blew it up in a harbor and then have mock victims buried. Remember the USS Maine, 1898, February 15th, blown up in a harbor? Now, before, well, I lost one of my note cards in the wind, I apologize. I'll have to just go with this one. Before the next people take stage, I would like to tell you the next hour or two you're going to be sitting here watching and listening. After I step off the stage here, we're going to have some music for you. You can jam. We do have some pizza on the way and some beverages. You're more than welcome to get some pizza right over there. And